Jake Watson. What is up, brother?
Man, I am so excited to be here at PGF. I just saw you. We walked in. We saw a little bit of the venue. We can't show you the venue yet, but we saw a little bit of the venue, and man, I'm just chomping at the bit.
I'm hyped up, dude. We're going to see some of the greatest grapplers in the world throwing down for 100K. So let me ask you this, dude. We were just chatting it up a little bit backstage, and I was like, yo, we should probably just make a video for the people because that's what we're doing here, man. We're backstage making some content, helping you at home enjoy the PGF. So, dude, got a question. PGF is all about taking grappling mainstream, trying to introduce more people to jiu-jitsu and ultimately be able to help more people through the martial arts and bring more eyes to our sport. What do you think needs to happen here this week to achieve that goal?
Well, Paul, I love that question. And you and I shared an experience on the Jiu-Jitsu Outlet podcast, which you guys haven't checked it out. Please go check it out. It's amazing. And just bringing more eyes to this sport. What needs to happen is there needs to be change in this sort of a direction. What I mean by that is, this is a league. Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have a league. We have things like the Jiu-Jitsu World League, which is really a one-off tournament series over and over and over again. But to have this week-long event that culminates in a final live on UFC Fight Pass is a huge deal. I think if I could break it down into, let's say, 3 things. First of all, the fact that it's different than every other tournament league or every other tournament series in the entire world is going to set PGF apart in a very unique way. 2, the inclusion of people like Zoltan Bathory of Five Finger Death Punch and other big players in other parts of the world, not even jiu-jitsu, but other industries. That's big. And 3, UFC Fight Pass. UFC Fight Pass is attached to the biggest combat sports brand in the entire world. It even trumps in some ways and in some areas the WBC with boxing or Muay Thai. It's just so big, and being able to attach yourself to a brand like the UFC is going to be huge for the PGF. The biggest thing aside from that, I would say, is the athletes need to show up. And the athletes are going to, because it's literally in the rules. If you do not submit your opponent, it don't matter if you dominated them. It counts the same as if you lost. And so if you want to make it to that top 8, if you want to make it to that finals day, you have to get enough points through submissions and different types of submissions to be able to make that top 8.
One of the things I like about the PGF is they're really good on calling you for stalling and stuff like that. Could you explain that a little bit more for people who might not be familiar with that part of the rules?
Yeah, I will. So with the PGF, one of the biggest things about jiu-jitsu, one of the biggest hindrances to it becoming a mainstream sport is the fact that you don't know the rules. People don't understand the rules. People watch it and they're like, what the heck am I watching? They understand the basic thing. Like, for instance, basketball, ball goes in hoop. All the other stuff and the intricacies of basketball, the layman might not understand. With jiu-jitsu, it's, oh, he tapped. That means that the other guy gave up, and they can kind of piece together what happened. Oh, it's a choke, it's a submission, cool. But the more we introduce nuances like lapel guard, I'm using gi as an example. There's boring matches that happen in no gi as well. But
definitely
in stalling situations, well, now there's nothing happening. Right. Now we can't turn this into a spectator sport because there's nothing to watch. There's stalling happening. And so the PGF is really big on not only, like I said, introducing into the very rule set itself, you have to submit in order to advance. Like if you want that match to count for anything, you need to submit your partner. And that is huge. And that's going to eliminate stalling a whole lot. That by itself, just knowing that if you don't submit, you pretty much lose. That's huge to make people not. They're going to go out, they're going to leave it all hang out. And people are going to have 3 matches per night from Monday to Thursday in the regular season before the playoffs even begin. So this is going to be an epic week.
Dude, out of everyone on the roster, who's in your top 3? Tough question.
So if it's my top 3, it is hard to discount Andy Verla and PJ Barch as my top 2. Now, I'm not going to give you a hard top 3. Okay. I'm going to give you an interchangeable last 2, because if Egghead sees this, Egghead is in charge of so many of the statistics behind the PGF. If he sees this and hears that I left out the name Elijah Carlton, he would have me in a bind. So I think PJ Barch and Andy Verla are very, very accomplished outside of the PGF. That is unmistakable. Right. And they're very, very skilled. And their styles are very good for the PGF rule set. PJ Barch has won multiple $10,000 Grand Prix, a lot of submissions in those. Andy Verla is an a maniac, and this is his town. Las Vegas is this guy's city. But Elijah Carlton has won PGF more than any competitor on here. He's the most active. He has the most regular season victories. He's most familiar with the stage, with the setup, with the function, with the flow. He's very, very talented. I believe he was ranked top 5 in the official PGF rankings already. But I also have to go with Hanato Kanuto. And I'm using them both because I think Hanato comes in. He hasn't competed since ADCC 2022, and that was his last no-gi tournament. Now, he beat Nicky Ryan there in sort of a stalemate match. Not a lot happened in the match, and then he would go on to lose. But he's been busy, I believe, in the training room, and I believe that he does possess that sort of killer instinct, that Andy Varela-type killer instinct, but backed by that world-level experience against the best people, and I think he's going to show it. I think he has something to prove, and I think he's very excited to prove it.
Thing I'm excited about, man, is like all these people that they brought have a really exciting style of jiu-jitsu. One thing that I noticed when I was studying all the footage is that there weren't a lot of guard pullers, a lot of wrestlers, a lot of people who like the stand-up game, and pretty much everyone who did have a guard style game are leg lockers. So they're bringing in the most exciting stuff to watch. Wrestling, judo a little bit, you know, guys like PJ Barch have kind of a more judo style almost. I mean, he's a background as a wrestler, but does a lot of judo, you know, so we have a lot of those guys who are going to hit maybe a big throw. And then if you do see people pulling guard, they're probably going to be going right for the legs, which is, in my opinion, is the most exciting part of the bottom game. So super pumped, man. It's going to be.
Yeah. And you know what? You brought up an interesting point about the wrestling. Most people are going to wrestle. And then if we combine the fact that you only have a certain amount of time in the match, right? You have to get busy with your wrestling. You're going to have to take risks. And that's the big thing. You got to take risks.
For sure.
You're going to have to. If you want to win, you have to be aggressive. You have to go for submissions. I think we're going to see some of the craziest jiu-jitsu that we've seen of any tournament within the last 5 years. I'm willing to make that prediction at this tournament. I really think we're going to see some absolutely insane. They're going to grapple in a different way. And what better timing leading up to ADCC 2022 at the T-Mobile Arena, the biggest event in jiu-jitsu history on the horizon. PGF, beautifully timed, sneaking in with many of the athletes who are great in any rule set in no-gi. And it's great to promote the brand of PGF. It's great to get these athletes while they're already in training camp. We're going to see some of the craziest jiu-jitsu, I think, that we have seen thus far in this modern era.
Dude, I'm so pumped.
It's
going to be fun.
I know, it's going to be great. And Paul, thank you so much for having me for this interview, brother.
Heck yeah, dude.
Thank you.
We're going to have a good week. See you there, and make sure you stay tuned.